More FPL. Welcome to Season Preview 21-22. Today I want to talk about which teams have the best opening fixtures, players to target from these teams, and captaincy options. As always, if you like what you're watching, please destroy the like and subscribe buttons and notification bell for the YouTube algorithm. There's a few teams that have standout fixtures in the opening 6 game weeks. I normally find that 6 weeks is a good span of fixtures to focus on, particularly at the start of the season, where you may be planning to, or end up, playing your wildcard around the first or second international break. Of the premium teams, Man United and Liverpool have the best starts overall. United only faced one of last season's top 6, with West Ham away in game week 5. Likewise, Liverpool only faced Chelsea at home in game week 3. Leicester also have a decent start and only faced Man City at home in game week 4. Man City faced Tottenham, Leicester and Chelsea away in the opening 6, and while you can never discount them, it's probably a good idea to focus your premium picks around teams with better fixtures, and rotation is always an issue in what some call the Pep roulette. Likewise, Chelsea faced Liverpool and Tottenham away, and Man City at home in the first 6. Everton finished mid-table last season, but have also been given a decent start where they mostly play teams that finished below them last season, apart from Leeds, who finished one place above them, and newly promoted Norwich. Brighton didn't do particularly well last season, but they also have a kind start. Their expected data was better than their actual data, so they could have some great budget options. The only team they faced from the top half last season is Leicester at home in game week 5. Now let's turn to players from these teams you may want to target. First, let's look at Man United, where Luke Shaw comes in at 5.5 million. He was in and out of the team the season before, but really nailed down that left-back slot last season. United were pretty solid defensively, and particularly in the second half of the season, he posted some great attacking numbers. Bruno Fernandes comes in at 12 million, where some people were expecting 12.5 or even 13 million. He's been an incredibly consistent point scorer since his introduction to the Premier League and narrowly edged out Harry Kane to be overall top point scorer last season. He remains on penalties and has a good share of other set pieces, so there's no reason to think he'll be less of a threat this season. He's also a strong captaincy shout, which we'll look at later. Marcus Rashford comes in at 9.5 million. He also had a strong campaign despite struggling with injuries for the majority of it. There are rumours that he'll have surgery after the Euros that may mean he misses the start of the season, but if not, he's a very important attacking asset for United, usually on the left of a front 3. Another player worth mentioning is Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who comes in at 5.5 million, the same price as Shaw. He's often criticised for his attacking output, but he racked up 2 goals and 5 assists, as well as playing more minutes to finish the season 20 points ahead of his teammate. Now let's look at Liverpool, where Trent Alexander-Arnold comes in at 7.5 million. He retains a decent share of set pieces, so there's no reason to think his attacking returns will dip. With the likely return of Virgil van Dijk at the heart of their defence in time for start of pre-season training, the Reds should also keep more clean sheets this season. Mo Salah comes in at 12.5 million. Like Bruno, he's been a very consistent point scorer and has done that over multiple seasons too. He remains on penalties, so there's no reason to think he'll be less of a threat this season. He's also a strong captaincy shout, which we'll look at later. There's a question mark over whether he'll take part in the Olympics, which may force him out of our initial drafts. Andrew Robertson comes in at 7 million, so 0.5 cheaper than Trent, and actually finished last season a point ahead of his teammate. He retains a decent share of set pieces and could be a good option instead of or in addition to Trent. His attacking output wasn't quite as strong, but he played more minutes. Another player worth mentioning is Sadio Mane, who comes in at 12 million, which is only 0.5 cheaper than Salah, whereas some were expecting maybe 11 or 11.5. He had a bit of a poor season by his standards, but still ended up as the 4th highest midfielder for points, albeit just over 50 behind Salah. Another player worth mentioning is Diogo Jota, who comes in at 7.5 million. He missed a fair amount of the season through injury and was also rotated a bit, but if he can steer clear of injury and nail down a regular starting spot, he could be great value. Overall then, a Liverpool triple-up of either 2 defenders and 1 midfielder, or vice versa, looks to be a viable strategy going into game week 1. Now let's turn to Everton. They're a bit of an unknown quantity at the moment, given they're currently without a manager at the time of writing, but have good fixtures to start. Lucas Digne comes in at 5.5 million. Last season, their defence was okay, and he did have some good attacking numbers, so you'd expect some improvement. Dominic Calvert-Lewin comes in at 8 million. He was comfortably Everton's top point scorer last season, and is set to lead the line for the Toffees once again, either as a lone striker or as part of a front two. James comes in at 7 million. He had a difficult season with injuries last term, but was a constant attacking threat when he did play. Should he feature regularly this season, he could be a great option. Now let's look at Leicester, where Timothy Castagne comes in at 5.5 million. He has a good attacking threat, and the Leicester defence is decent too. Despite his eye injury sustained at the Euros, he should be fit for the start of the season. Kelechi Iheanacho comes in at 7.5 million. He had a very strong end to the season and actually became Leicester's chief goal threat ahead of Jamie Vardy. If he can keep that up over the whole season, he could make a mockery of his price this term. James Maddison comes in at 7 million. He remains Leicester's main creator with his share of set pieces. He was a little in and out of the team, but if he retains the number 10 role, he could get a better points total this year. Another player worth mentioning is Wesley Fofana, who comes in at 4.5 million. If he retains his starting place, particularly if Rodgers elects to line up with 3 at the back, he could prove a steal at that price. As mentioned previously, Brighton's expected data last season was better than their actual data. Robert Sanchez comes in at 4.5 million, and we would expect more clean sheets this term. Tariq Lamptey comes in at the same price. He missed much of last season through injury, but he could be a steal at that price if he can play more games. Leandro Trossard comes in at 6.5 million and could be a good 4th midfield option. He ticked along nicely last season with goals and assists and could grab a couple of returns in those early fixtures. Finally, let's look at captaincy, which should always be a big consideration at any point in the season. As you can see from the table, a player from Liverpool and Man United gives you a good option each week, so it's going to be hard to look past the Bruno-Salah pairing, even if it does eat heavily into your overall budget. Leicester also have a good fixture for a couple of those weeks, and also Chelsea, but the rest of their schedule is tricky. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please add your own thoughts and follow-up questions in the comments, and I'll try to get through as many as I can. If you made it to the very end, please destroy the like and subscribe buttons and notification bell to get more FPL.